Today I'll be reviewing the Flashpoint heavy-duty light stand exclusively from Adorama to see if it's worth even its bargain basement price or if you're better off throwing your money down a storm drain.
It's time for Hollywood Grump.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hollywood Grump. I am the Grump, aka the Crispy Curmudgeon, aka Grumpy Gus, aka the Miserable Mrs. Maisel. Today is my inaugural Grump gear review. All the reviews here on Hollywood Grump are completely my own opinion and completely devoid of hype and horseshit. So you can either take my advice or take a flying leap. But if you're very good boys and girls and drink all of your milk, I may just be giving one of these stands away. So stay tuned for the end of the episode for details. Now let's get right to the gonads of this. This particular stand is the Flashpoint Pro Air-Cushioned heavy-duty light stand, 9.5 feet. I got this one for $25 from Adorama. And this is a completely unbiased review. I have no connection with Adorama. Adorama? I have no connection with Adorama or Flashpoint. I bought these stands with my own money, especially for this review, mostly because when I first heard of Flashpoint, I went online to look for reviews, and at the time of filming this, I couldn't find any. So it's the perfect opportunity to run this stand through its paces. On smaller shoots, you usually end up bringing some of your own gear. Light stands is one of those pieces of gear you bring. Now normally I would label all of my stands with permanent vinyl labels with the name of my company and contact information, etc., just to make sure they don't get mixed up with everybody else's stands. So to that end, what initially attracted me to these stands was the cool color accents. It's a nice way to differentiate your stands from other people's when you're on set. Call it an added layer of identification. It makes it easier at the end of the day when you're wrapping to make sure you get your stuff back. So these stands have some really cool color accents on the locking collars, and I believe they come in red, blue, yellow, and standard black. Also, I believe these stands are another common brand that are sold through Adorama. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're Came TV stands, although there's not a lot of detail online to verify that fact, but they look and function exactly like Came TV stands, so I'm pretty sure that's what they are. The eye-catching color accents aside, the primary reason I wanted to review this stand is to find out, can a sub $50 stand actually be any good? It seems whenever I buy any kind of light kit versus buying standalone lights, they come with some pretty bad stands. Normally they're impact stands, but they're the cheapest ones they have. And they're pretty awful. They're primarily plastic, they don't hold a lot of weight. They start to bow pretty easily with any kind of load on them. In fact, you'll start to see them sway with even 5 to 6 pounds attached to them. Usually after a couple weeks of regular use, the tension knobs start to get stripped, the threading, and the locking collars become detached and start to spin freely around the risers. So it's no wonder that they include them for free in light kits. If you search for impact stands, I think you can find their lowest end model for around $20. But in my educated opinion, you're better off taking $20 out of your wallet and wiping your ass with it, because they're good for holding miniature on-camera lights at best. When you move up to their heavy-duty line of stands, the price immediately jumps up to about $40 as a starting point. And even their stands that are listed as heavy-duty are kind of fragile, in my opinion. It's only when you move up to their pro line of steel light stands and C-stands that the quality really holds up to any kind of regular abuse. That said, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I consider any gear purchase a long-term investment. So I rarely, if ever, skimp on something as important as light stands. I personally have two different categories for light stands. One for professional location shooting, and one for light-duty fixtures, meaning stuff that's going to stay permanent or semi-permanent in a studio environment. My location stands consist almost entirely of Matthews steel Maxi Kit stands. They are all metal with all metal tension knobs. They are smooth as silk to raise and lower. They have a really nice wide, heavy base to keep a nice stable load, and they have survived being kicked around and knocked about pretty well without any loss of functionality. So for location kit, I highly recommend the Matthews stands. They're not cheap, but they're certainly cheaper than replacing a light that comes crashing down to the ground. But back to the subject of this review. I've been searching for lightweight studio fixture stands for a little while now. Having never used a Flashpoint stand or even seen one in person, I was kind of turned off by the low price. I mean, 25 bucks? Actually 39 bucks, but on sale for 25 bucks? Could that be any good? I think it's gonna be garbage. But I thought it would be a good experiment on the channel to see if they were even usable. I like that they at least seem to have a wider tripod base, and a beefier center column. And as I said, I thought the red accents were kind of cool, especially for identification. So I bought a couple. In this case, I chose the 9.5 foot version, and I believe they have sizes ranging from 7 feet to 13 feet. And they also make boom stand versions and C-stand versions. The stand arrived in a small nylon carrying case, and it does retract down to a nice compact size. I was also pleasantly surprised at the heft. It had a nice weighty feeling to it. Not heavy by any means, but certainly not feather light either. Whenever a stand is too light, it usually means it's pretty cheap. The stand comes with a shoulder strap that you can attach to the outer bag, which we'll talk about in a minute. And being the surly old man that I am, I was immediately annoyed that as soon as I unzipped the bag, the strap fell out. And when I tried to put the strap back in the bag, when I went to go zip the bag, it would flip to the side and the strap would fall out. And I would put it back in the bag again, and I would try to zip the bag and the strap would fall out. It irked me so much that immediately following this review, I'm burning that strap in the fireplace. Which leads me to the bag itself. While it's nice that they provided one, it's complete garbaggio. I would never in a million years use this bag to tote this stand around. It's barely padded. The zipper was a nightmare, getting stuck on one end almost immediately, and fabric was getting caught within the zipper teeth when I tried to reclose it, which I'm sure everyone can identify with being a pain in the ass. And I'm positive that zipper will completely shit the bed in a matter of days. So the bag is complete nonsense. Throw it away or use it to store something in your garage that you don't care about. Actually, I think it'll make a perfect carrying case for a jumbo sub that you're bringing to a Super Bowl party. You are much better off investing in a case or bag that can hold many stands and that's capable of taking some level of abuse. I highly recommend this to everyone. In fact, a really neat trick is to go on eBay and find used tripod cases in the medium to heavy duty range. You can buy them cheap and they fit light stands perfectly. The stand itself is aesthetically pleasing, if that matters to anybody. I like the color accents just for the cool factor, and everything was perfectly lined up in terms of the tension knobs when I opened the bag, which does wonders for my OCD. Whether it was Adorama or the manufacturer, it's little details like this that say something about the company. I can't believe that it was coincidence that all the knobs lined up perfectly, so someone actually took the time to line them all up before they put it in the bag. Upon trying to open the base and extend the stand for the first time, I thought I was immediately in trouble. I am a big, beefy man, and it took all of my strength to loosen the knobs for the first time. And I mean really struggling with it. But after some work, they loosened up a little and I was able to extend the stand. And by the way, the same happened the other way around. When I tried to tension the knobs to hold the risers in place, I really needed to put a lot of effort into tightening those knobs. In fairness, this only happened the first time I opened the stand and tried to extend it. The next time I did it, the knobs did their job adequately with no noticeable play or wiggle. So chalk it up to extra tightening and manufacturing. Apparently the stand needs a little break-in period. The build quality itself is exactly what I would expect at this price point. Lightweight aluminum riser sections, the locking collars are some type of metal alloy, and the tension knobs are a composite plastic of some kind. One of the knobs had a sharpish edge that clearly occurred during manufacturing, and it's not all that uncommon with plastic knobs. A quick swipe with some fine grit sandpaper fixed it in seconds, so no real marks off there. The stud at the top is the typical kind, a 5/8 inch baby with a 1/4 20 threaded post, and a 3/8 threaded post on the other end. There's an option to mount the stud either on top of the stand or in a horizontal position with an included side-facing socket. Though most of us wouldn't use it in that configuration too often, I thought it was a nice inclusion. Once the stand is open, you'll find some really nice surprises. The tripod section is really nice and wide. It gives the stand a great stable base and leaves plenty of room for sandbags, shop bags, or any other type of ballast. Also, the air cushioning is pretty good, as good or better than any other stand that I've used. The release is slow and smooth without needing to put ridiculous pressure on the column to get it to lower. And as with other stands, it does nothing to assist in raising the columns. For those of you not familiar with air cushion stands, it supplies extra support for lowering the riser sections. So especially when you have heavy loads, it keeps these sections from slamming down on the locking collars, or worse yet, on your hand. And lastly, at least on first examination, the build quality seems pretty good, which is to say it has a higher overall build quality than some of the kit stands I mentioned before. It feels hefty and capable without feeling unduly heavy. The sections move relatively smoothly, and as I mentioned, once broken in, the knobs do their job pretty adequately. Now, I've read some online reviews that claim the top pin, this section here, isn't attached very securely. I'm finding no problems there. It's connected with 4 rivets of some sort, There's really no play of any kind, so maybe they got a lemon? I'm not sure, but I have no complaints. But let's be honest, the most important feature of any light stand is its load capacity. So to test that out, I'm using some GVM video lights as well as some accessories that most of us would likely use on a light stand. Now, as these are LED panels, I don't use a large dome softbox, but I think you can extrapolate the stand's load capacity based on the weight of the gear that I do have. The GVM lights I used for this test are a bicolor model, and all in, including the power converter brick attached to the back, each one of them weighs in about 8 pounds. And the weight doesn't change much if you're using 2 NPF style batteries, unless you're using those massive high capacity batteries. So to start, I did a standard attachment of the lights yoke directly to the stud, and as expected, the light stand performed perfectly. Even extended to a reasonable height, I found no sway or indications that it couldn't handle the weight. Any wiggle or play was due to some loose hex screws on the GVM yoke itself, but the stand didn't really move or sway due to the weight of the light. I then attached a grip finger. I have a Kupo baby finger that allows for angle adjustments. This adapter weighs in just under 2 pounds, which roughly brings our load up to about 10 pounds. Again, the stand did its job, holding steady with really no warning signs. The stand does show a tiny bit of sway if you force it to move, but otherwise the load capacity so far seems to fall within its maximum limit, which is listed officially at 16 pounds. And while lowering any of the sections while carrying this load, the air cushioning performed admirably, giving a nice assist to each riser as it lowered. I had plans to add a bunch of different accessories and even multiple lights to the same stand, but I got impatient. I wanted to push this stand to its limits, so I attached a 15-pound boom arm counterweight near the top of the stand. That pushed our load up to 25 pounds, give or take. But I didn't attach it at the very top because I feared that the thin top riser section would crack or buckle in some way. At this point, as expected, the stand started to show a little weakness. This is clearly beyond its 16-pound weight capacity. That said, it didn't collapse or crack, it just swayed and definitely sent the message that if you keep up this crap, I'm gonna come crashing down and bust all your shit. It certainly can easily hold Fresnel lights like an Aperture 120D with a softbox on it, and up to medium-sized lights like a Kino Celeb 250, but likely not with V-mount batteries. Once you start getting into the larger size lights, Gemini, Sky Panel, GVM 110, I don't think this is the right stand for that. It can't hold the load, nor does it claim that it can. So, my conclusions. At the sale price, at least with initial testing, the Flashpoint stand is well worth the purchase. With a little caveat. I emphasize sale price because at the regular price, it's starting to move into an area where it's not a really great value for the money. I think these stands are an excellent addition to your studio light setup, as long as your lights and accessories are within that 16-pound limit. I think it's generally a well-built stand, and I think it would work perfectly with light-duty adjusting, or better yet, for permanent or semi-permanent fixtures. If you're looking for good stands for location work, places where you'll be constantly opening, closing, raising, lowering, packing, repacking, and they're gonna get kicked around a little bit, I don't think these are the stands for you. So oddly, the main reason that I bought this stand for that color identification when I'm on location proved to be irrelevant. I fear that over time, much like any other stand that's got plastic or composite tension knobs, it'll start to develop some problems. Now, I will say that alloy collars definitely reduce the chances of the threads getting stripped. Usually the stripping occurs because the threading is drilled directly into the plastic and it gets soft over time and the threads strip and then it's a useless piece of garbage. So being alloy, I don't think these are gonna strip anytime soon, but something tells me some problems might start to develop if you're using it in a heavy-duty way. I also think it's just a hair too big and heavy to be considered a good run and gun or airline travel stand. I personally would categorize this stand as medium duty, not heavy duty, but a lot of companies throw that term around, so really no harm, no foul. And as I mentioned before, the carrying case is completely worthless and should be filled with rocks and thrown in the nearest harbor. Thanks for including it, but no thanks. Now, I would not recommend buying 5 of these and making them the mainstay of your kit, but buying 1 to 3 of these are worth it in my opinion. As I said, especially at the sale price. Based on the performance of this stand, however, I think I would avoid the larger boom size stands or the C stands altogether. Those kind of stands are made to carry heavier loads, and I don't know that they could handle it even in a permanent studio environment. All in all, I give this stand a solid B, or on a scale of 1 to 10, 2 bananas. So good job, Adorama, and I'll likely be buying a couple more of these for my studio. If you'd like a chance to win one of these stands, I'm giving one away to a lucky subscriber. This giveaway is open to subscribers only whose name will be drawn completely at random, and you'll be notified before the next episode. So if you want a chance to win one, subscribe and like this video and type the words, "I want one" in the comments below. And if your name is chosen, I'll send you one out for free. Please don't be a douche and subscribe and then unsubscribe if you don't win, because that's shitty and petty and you should die of gonorrhea. That about does it for my very first Grump Gear review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it helpful, please let me know in the comments below. If you didn't, there's a chance that you're slow and probably should get tested right away. Lastly, I want to thank the people that helped make this show possible. My good friends at The Garden Creative, thanks so much for your support, guys. My good friend Buzz Burbank for lending his golden throat to the project.
Thanks, JR.
The incredibly talented Billy Lincoln for letting me use his music in my videos. And my family, especially when they're not here and I have the house all to myself. If you dig the show, please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed Hollywood Grump. Until next time,